Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you are having a wonderful time. This is a friendly reminder that our next session will begin shortly. Please make your way back to the ballroom and take your seats. We have an exciting lineup of speakers and activities that you don't want to miss. Thank you, and we will be starting soon. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you are having a wonderful time. This is a friendly reminder that our next session will begin shortly. Please make your way back to the ballroom and take your seats. We have an exciting lineup of speakers and activities that you don't want to miss. Thank you, and we will be starting soon. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now ready to begin our next session. Capacity building in the APAC region. Who, why, and how? It is my pleasure to introduce our moderator for this segment, Manju Chen, Southeast Asia Representative, Diplo Foundation. Please join me in welcoming Manju Chen to the stage.
I have to wait until the music stops. Okay, it stops. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this session. This is, as you heard, it's a session about capacity building. And so I'm just trying to find my stuff in the right place. This session is about capacity building, and the objective of this session is, first of all, we will explore what's happening in the APAC region. What are the projects ongoing? What are the existing efforts? And then we will discuss, of course, how do we improve these efforts, how to expand, and how do we advance. Before we start, of course, I have to introduce my lovely panelists. Oh my God, is this photo gonna be there the whole session? Okay. Yes, so I'm gonna introduce my panelists. I'll start with the one right next to me, Boyoung Kim. Sorry, I know them all in first name basis, so I don't know their title. I really have to look up. Boyoung is the Deputy General Researcher of KISA. I'm sorry, I didn't study the full name of KISA. It's Korean Internet Security Agency. Yes. And she's also on the board of .Asia and APTOD. And Sylvia is the head of programs and partnerships from APNIC Foundation. Next to her is Sheldon, who has the longest title. She's the director of Internet Governance, Department of Infrastructure, Transport, Regional Development, Communications, and the Arts, and at Australia. And Alban is the head of corporate development and strategic alliance APAC from CSC. So these are my panelists. I'm very lucky to have them joining me for this session. And I'll begin with our first round of sharings. So first, I guess I'll start with Boyoung, because we actually last week we just finished, well, the week before last week we finished a very successful ICANN and KISA and APNIC events, which is a yearly capacity building program focusing on the youth in the Asia Pacific area. It's called APIGA. Asia Pacific Internet Governance Academy. And I'm actually also an alumni of APIGA. We just wrapped up a very successful APIGA. Actually, most of our panelists was there in Busan with us during APIGA. We had also people from APNIC, but sadly not Sylvia, because we like you the most. I wanted to ask Boyoung to share more about APIGA, because KISA was actually the organization who initiated APIGA. They came to ICANN and asked, how do we do this and if we should do this. Kisa, Boyoung, can you share more about why you thought it's a good idea to start APIGA, and more, how do you envision it in the future? What do you see APIGA is going? And probably also, because we this year are starting a kind of trial of local APIGA, how do you see APIGA, this kind of local APIGAs will help APIGA to advance in the future? Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Boyoung Kim, and I'm working for KISA, Korea Internet and Security Agency. So KISA has long recognized the importance of a multi-stakeholder approach and participation in Internet policy making. We have been actively involving diverse multi-stakeholder community in the development of Internet policies in Korea. Particularly, we have identified the needs to nurture the next generation of experts who have grown up with the Internet and influence various sectors of the society in the future. In collaboration with ICANN, KISA shared and emphasized the importance of this idea. In 2016, KISA and ICANN launched a joint project to strengthen Internet governance capacities among young people in the Asia-Pacific region. The Asia-Pacific Internet Governance Academy, APIGA, targets young people aged 18 to 35 years old in our region and has established itself as a key program for enhancing Internet governance skills among youth. Approximately 25% of APIGA alumni remains active in the Internet governance community, including Manju. Through several years of running the APIGA program, we have identified some areas for improvement. Korean students often feel uncomfortable with the discussion in English and lack foundational knowledge. To address this, we realized the importance of providing introductory lectures on the Internet governance in their local language and explaining the program's object to Korean students. Consequently, in collaboration with ICANN, we designed a structure where students who receive basic education through local APIGA program can participate in the master class regional APIGA next year in Korea. This structure has been promoted in various countries within the Asia-Pacific region. This year marks the beginning of our local APIGA initiative with several countries including Taiwan, Indonesia, Australia, and Nepal hosting their own local APIGA program. Outstanding students from this local program will have the opportunity to participate in the regional APIGA held in Korea next year. We encourage any country recognizing the needs to strengthen the next generation's capacity to consider initiating local APIGA in collaboration with KISA and ICANN. In addition to pre-APIGA, Korea also runs various activities at the university level, such as Internet governance course, textbook development, research group, and youth group. These initiatives aim to provide students with the opportunity to learn, experience, and participate, ultimately helping the youth who will lead the future Internet policies. That's it from me.
Thank you very much, Boyoung. Yes, as Boyoung has shared, APIGA is a very precious thing that we hold. I think a lot of APAC community members held dear in our hearts. We always are very excited to go to APIGA every year because Korea is nice and the food is good. And we get to meet a lot of passionate and very bright young participants. Next, I'll move to Sylvia because she's sitting next to Boyoung. Sylvia, you're from the APNIC Foundation. Can you explain to us what's the difference between APNIC Foundation and APNIC? Are they related? And what are the capacity building efforts you are doing in APNIC, especially since APNIC is one of the RARs? I would assume you do a lot of practice related to internet infrastructures. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sylvia Cadena. I work at the foundation as head of programs and partnerships, and I've been working for APNIC for 16 years now. APNIC is the Asia Pacific Network Information Center, and we allocate IP addresses and ASN numbers to mobile operators and network operators across the 56 economies in the Asia Pacific. APNIC established the foundation back in 2016. It became operational in 2017 with a mission to increase investment in capacity building in the region. And that capacity building is linked to the objectives and operational activities that APNIC conducts. So our fundraising efforts are linked to the objectives and the operational plan that the activity plan, that APNIC implements. So we are based on the APNIC survey that is done every couple of years. We identify what are the trends and the issues that the community cares about and is concerned about. And based on that, I've worked on the design and establishment of the programs of the foundation, which allocate funding through 3 different mechanisms. The 3 programs are infrastructure, inclusion, and knowledge. And we have grants, we have awards, we support research, and we support also development of information products and services that APNIC does. So we do that as part of our fundraising. So APNIC is the mothership, let's say, and the foundation supports the activities of APNIC and the needs of the community. We have a little bit of what I call very formally wiggle room, where we support other needs that the community may have raised in the APNIC survey that are not necessarily core issues of APNIC, but that are of concern and that support the development of the internet in the region. So in terms of capacity building efforts, APNIC has a flagship product that is the APNIC Academy. We have Shane here in the second row. That she kind of invented it. So, you know, it's all her fault, let's say. It provides self-paced courses on highly technical issues that are very close to the core operations of APNIC, and also supports the community and the members of APNIC to reach out and have face-to-face facilitated training, access to webinars, and tutorials, and a number of other capacity building opportunities. The development staff of APNIC is highly committed to support the needs in the region, and it is, if a member or an organization requests the attention of the participation of trainers in their, for their companies, then APNIC provides that assistance. It's like a fly-in, fly-out kind of troop that assists in that development. I'm not part of that team, but the part that I find fascinating about what they do is that because APNIC is a neutral organization, it's not vendor driven, the advice and the training that APNIC provides is neutral. And what it allows is for organizations to make their own decisions about what are they going to procure, what equipment are they going to use, what software are they going to deploy, and then they can engage with these providers that are assisting in those efforts. On the other hand, in terms of, APNIC also has research and information products that are available on the website, measurements that Jeff does and others, and a number of other tools that are interesting for the community. I encourage you to look at those on apnic.net on the insights section of the website. On the foundation side, the wiggle room that I was trying to share, tries to look at what are the gaps on professional development or other kinds of capacity building mechanisms that APNIC does not provide as part of its core business, and also supports capacity building efforts that our partner organizations do, like APIGA. We are the sponsors of APIGA for a number of years. We support the APR IGF, we support the Global IGF, we support fellowship programs across a number of initiatives. We support network operator groups, IXPs, development, and through our grants and awards, we support a wide range of projects every year. We are just about to announce in the next couple of months the last batch of 21 projects that are going to receive our grants. It's about $1.7 million US this year, and that is across a very wide range of projects and organizations. So what APNIC and the foundation are here to do is to support the needs of the community. And the APNIC survey just closed very recently, so new input from that survey will be part of our programming into the future to respond to the needs of the community in a proactive manner. So I encourage you to, when the surveys are up, to put your needs up, to follow the websites of the two organizations, and when there are opportunities available, to please apply. It is a competitive process, fellowships and grants are, but it's not only about the funds, it's also about the network of people that are behind and what to help us drive our funding to be able to respond to the needs of the community. So that's the difference of the two organizations and a bit of what we provide. I hope that I answer your question.
Thank you, Sylvia. I really like your sharing. I think you touched on two very important points of capacity building. The first one is, of course, capacity building is not only downloading, right? It's not only you teach them whatever they need to know. You help them to develop their own agency. They know, after what they know, how to make their own decisions and what is best for their situation. It's a saying, right? You don't, instead of catching the fish for the people, you teach them how to catch the fish themselves. Another point, of course, capacity building is not only educational efforts, it's also building the network. So we all have a strong community in overall in APAC. So I'm gonna move on to Ian from the government perspective. I guess, especially since you're from Australia, how does Australia government view capacity building? Why do you think it's important, if you think it's important? And how do you prioritize if you have multiple capacity building projects? What's, from a government perspective, what are your considerations when you're prioritizing your projects? Thank you.
Thanks, Manju, and thanks for having me on this panel. My name's Ian Sheldon. I'm the Director of Internet Governance in the Australian Government Department of Infrastructure and Friends. Quite simply, capacity building is quite a simple thing. A rising tide lifts all boats. And for us, capacity building is central to a lot of core values that we cherish here in the Australian Government around multi-stakeholderism, particularly related to the internet. So for us, the more we can build the capacity of both our own country as well as our regional neighbours, the better and stronger the broader internet we have in this space is, and the better outcomes for everyone. We also know that the internet and the digital landscape is rapidly evolving, so the need for capacity building and the drive never abates. It's an ongoing process, the needs continually change, and we also know that the Asia-Pacific region is incredibly diverse and varied in its needs and capacity gaps. So I guess to the second point, a lot of what we do is spend a lot of time figuring out what those needs are before we really undertake any project. Spending a lot of time with the local community, spending a lot of time with our own communities, figuring out where their levels are at, and really working out precisely how we can better address some of those challenges. A really good local example was a project that we partnered with APAC Foundation on just recently at the Internet Engineering Task Force in Brisbane earlier this year. It was this year, wasn't it? It's been a big year. So we understood the IETF was a really important part of the internet landscape, but we also understood that we weren't likely to get a lot of participants. Australia's a long way to go. And so through a lot of conversations with Sylvia and her team, the local internet community, IETF, we worked very closely with at the APAC Foundation to tailor a package to help support a range of local participants who may not have been previously able to attend this forum and take part in these important conversations. It was a reasonably small project, but for us it was quite a well-targeted, important piece in the broader landscape. And it's quite representative of a lot of the other work we do across the region as well. Capacity building can come in any form, quite small scale, quick, cheap projects, all the way through to multi-million-dollar, large-scale, multi-year projects. There's always room to do something, and for us, it doesn't. Capacity building sometimes doesn't even require funding as well. It can come in all guises, all sorts, and for us, we try and find an opportunity to insert some capacity building in a lot of the work we do across a breadth of spaces, even across the week here as well, building those relationships out, getting to know the community. A lot of that will feed back into the way we think about capacity building more longer term and how we can scope out future projects across this space. I might leave it there. Have I answered your questions? Great, thank
I have
you.
more questions to come, so you can leave it here and we start over again. Yes, IETF is actually currently happening in Vancouver, so probably your batch are there working their ass off to try to understand IETF, right? Let's move on to Alban. Alban, you were, well, Ian, you were too, but you both were here in, well, not here, but in Busan with us for the APIGA. And Alban, you actually were in Taiwan too, this April for our first ever local APIGA too. I think it's your first ever experience in these kind of young generation capacity building programs. How do you feel? How do you see it? And from an industry perspective, like, how do you see these kind of program can help probably support you or assist you to scout talent or, you know, to recruit talent from these programs?
Sure. So when I first, let me take a step back first, because when I first got invited by Manju to participate in the APIGA Taiwan, first of all, I don't know what APIGA is. Second of all, I don't even know what capacity building actually means. It's not like I don't understand the word, but we normally, from a private sector perspective, we don't call that capacity building. We call that training and development. So is that, I have to do a Google search and see, is that a meaningful difference between training and development and capacity building? And yeah, I guess not a lot, but there will be some difference as well. But when I actually go into joining the APIGA, the first thing that I experience is that, wow, these are really good young talent. And I remember thinking there are a couple that I really want to recruit as well, because they are really good talent. And the second thing I think about is that at one point, I told you this story before, but I'll tell this story again. A couple of years ago, so CSC worked with a lot of the largest company around the world. I think the statistic is over 90% of the Forbes 2000 and 65% of the best global brands. They are our customer base. So at one point, in the two of the largest internet company in the APAC region, basically just gave me a call and say that, hey, my staff who are responsible for domain management and brand protection, they both left right? And do you have any recommendation that you can give me? Because they are unable to find anyone in the market that actually know about internet and brand protection and all this. And I literally did look up for them, and I can't find any. So what I say is that there is a definite demand in the market for more talent to actually understand how internet works. Certainly, we are doing the supply side capacity building at the moment. So my impression is that this is really great program, and we really should be doing more of it. So I'll stop here, and we can talk more later.
Apparently, you didn't know me back then, or else I can work for those companies. But yeah, actually, I'm gonna stay with you, Alban, because I think during the APIGA in Busan, we also talked about the challenges you kind of discovered through APIGA. For example, you were saying there are just some countries that you think it's going to be harder for them to find a job, even if they want to stay in this realm. And how do you see probably what we can improve to kind of mitigate this kind of challenges? What do you think what are the possible ways we can probably add to the program of existing capacity building to kind of try to seek this out, or what the future of these kind of countries or these kind of talents are gonna land?
Yeah, so actually after APIGA Taiwan, I did reach out to the internal HR team within CSC, and I told them about, I joined this program and how great it is and things like that. And the first reaction that I got from my HR team is that, wow, that's great. Maybe we can include this into our internship program. So that's actually the comment from my HR team. The problem is we don't always recruit in that particular country. We only recruiting in selected market where we have an office, and we don't always have an opening as well. So the matter of fact is that CSC is not enough. Individual organization is not enough, because we don't always match up the talent pool with what we need at the moment. So there's certainly a need that we are able to expand that outside. And to address the second part of the question, I think that because we can definitely see that we are doing a lot on the supply side, there is a demand on the demand side. The first thing that we have to do is how do we actually match that up? We need a larger pool of partners on the demand side, so we can actually match that and in building that bridge. The second thing is that although I can see some company having that need, but I'm really talking about that example that I just gave. They are the largest internet company in the region. So they may have a demand that they can already see. But let's just say that you ask a CISO on the cybersecurity side, or a senior legal or legal director for not a large internet company, but a normal large company, they would not know what APIGA is. They will not know what internet governance is. It's not about whether they actually have that demand. The demand has not been discovered. So I think the other thing that we, in terms of improving and bridging that gap, is that we also need to do a lot more on the demand side capacity building, and that's my honest opinion, because when I talk to some of these large companies, they definitely have a need for recruitment of people who understand how internet works. But that, at the moment, they don't realize this is the case. And I can tell you, I was having breakfast with one of the large companies as well this morning, and I asked her about some feedback on this event, and her immediate feedback is that, yeah, I agree, these are really good conversation and know-how, but I would not know anything about this before you told me and before I joined some of the session. So this showcase how much we also need to do in terms of capacity building on the actual commercial world and the wider organization. You know, ICANN community is niche. There's only a certain amount of people that I can recruit, Ian can recruit, or the registrar can recruit. And that pool is too niche. We need to be able to expand outside the immediate ICANN world into the wider community. And this is really important as well because we are building capacity for the society, right? So we're building that capacity so that whatever we do will be beneficial. And we have to spread this capacity building out into the wider society. And then we can see a better return on the efforts that we do.
Thank you, Alban. I really like the idea of, you know, building capacity on the demand side. Basically, we go to them and we tell them, hey, you actually need us. You didn't know, but you need us, right? Let's all work towards that. But let's say, I think this is a very interesting topic of how we didn't see there are actually aspects of capacity building needs, but we didn't really discover that. I guess I'll move on to Ian because we're going that way, and then now we're moving back. So we were talking. You were sharing a lot of capacity building projects you do to the Australian citizens, and to whatever group you think needs more projects. But how about inside of the government? Are you doing anything to build capacity inside the government? Like Alban said, you realize that you actually need these kind of things. And if you're doing anything, can you share some projects or some thoughts about it? Thank you.
Sure, it's a great question, and I think we've heard across yesterday and today the real capacity gap in governments on the issue of internet-related issues. I think I've sat in on probably 4 or 5 sessions, and almost every single one of them where governments come up, people have bemoaned the complexities that government need to navigate in their space, but also the lack of talent and capacity to properly handle these issues. As I said before, the internet and the digital landscape is rapidly evolving, and it's been increasingly difficult to keep up with having the right talent and having access to a sufficiently large pool of the talent who understands his space. And so a lot of the challenges that I think Alban had outlined ring very true for government as well. So there's a couple of examples where we've tried to address this over the last year. We partnered with ISOC in the margins of the IETF meeting to run a policymakers program. It's an excellent program designed to deliver an Internet 101 piece for policymakers. How does the internet work? What are some of the core questions and issues that governments are grappling with? And also create that safe space for government officials to come and ask those questions. We government folk are often quite shy about talking about these challenges in public, and so this policymakers program was a safe space for government officials to come and ask those silly questions and not get on a public mic and really show how little we actually know about the internet. So I think the IETF and ISOC partner and run this in the margins of every IETF meeting, and they try and draw in as much domestic expertise as possible and help build out those networks and relationships as well between government and the local community. And as Manju was saying, that those relationships are vital and a core part of the capacity building work. We also partnered with we tried to run a parliamentarians track in the margins of the Asia Pacific Regional Internet Governance Forum. And so it's one thing to build the capacity of policymakers and government officials, but it's another thing entirely different to try and build the capacity of parliamentarians and the very senior officials actually signing off on those policies. So we see equal value in dedicating time, energy, and resources to making sure that those elected officials also have a deep understanding of the internet and can talk about these issues. And so through the entire policymaking chain, we see value in having some capacity built and raising the awareness and understanding of the way the internet operates. Does that answer your question? It's enough for now.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. I really like the idea that we have to build capacity in the parliamental, the higher up officials too. Actually, this year in ICANN, we just had the high-level governmental meeting. Well, I hope they learned something from the meeting because they should. So yeah, sometimes those who make the decisions don't even know what decisions they're making if they don't know the context, right? So it's really important for us to teach them what decisions they're making. So Sylvia, I'm moving back to you. You've shared a lot about, numbers, what regions, what countries you have been collaborating within the regions. But what is one or probably several projects you feel the most proud? What's one project, if you have to share with the audience from APNIC Foundation, that you love to share and the precious is from your heart?
Thank you for the opportunity to do that. I am wearing today a skirt from the proudest project that I am working on. It's called the Switch project. It's a project that builds capacity for women and gender diverse engineers in Southeast Asia. And I just coming back from Laos, where I had the opportunity to participate in the national event of the Switch team there. And they gave me this skirt. And I am so proud of wearing it today because they are with me while I'm in this stage sharing the story. Over the years, I've been working on internet development for close to 30 years. And I have been the only female in many meeting rooms for a very long time, the only trainer, providing training when I was doing web design back in the day, and still in a leadership capacity where I am now, still sitting in places where I'm the only female in the room. And I think the invisibility of network engineers and cybersecurity professionals, who are the people that are making the internet run. We talk about the internet as if it magically appears, but there are lives, there are souls, there are great hearts, great passion behind what makes the internet work. And as our former Director General, Paul Wilson, used to say, which was my mantra for a very long time, the internet is as safe, as secure, as reliable, and as open as the engineers that run it. So if we don't focus on people and what the needs of the people are, then we are missing the point of what the internet is for and how the internet is built. So the Switch project is helping women and gender diverse engineers in 6 countries in Southeast Asia to find their own pathways. That's the other challenge that Switch is tackling. Most capacity building programs will have a defined menu of options, content that is created, and that is normally serving your employer or a network that you belong to. And there is a space for that, like a PIGA, like the ISOC Fellows Program, and other, course in university. It makes sense to have a program, but it also makes sense to own your own brain and decide what it is that you need to learn. And in the case of women and gender diverse engineers that are under a number of other constraints, which is a subject for another panel, let's say, one of the biggest challenges is to actually come up with our own plan of what it is that I want to learn, when and how, and what for. It might be something that serves my employer, but it might be something that I'm looking for the future, or something that I want to be challenged with, and I just want to explore, and my employer doesn't have the funds to support me, or I can't afford it. So what the Switch project is doing is helping women and gender diverse engineers to come up with their own professional development plans. We have a menu of about 65 training providers worldwide working on network operations, security, data analytics, internet research, measurement, things that are related to our core business, and also complement that with leadership development, public speaking, English classes, what it is that you need to move forward in that conversation. And that the biggest challenge when the project started 4 years ago with funding from the Australian government was to actually help people to come up with their own plan. And that was always, has been always fascinating to me. To this day, it's like women are waiting, we are all waiting for someone to tell us what do we need to learn. And I always say, well, your brain is yours, there is a space for you to develop other skills and other needs and explore who you really are and what your purpose is. So this project I am extremely proud of. It's a troop now, 350 engineers in 4 years that we have supported, and that they are becoming very active in the technical community, because the project also makes a strong emphasis on connecting them and give back. We measure, they have to track not only what certificates they receive, how much sessions they attend, they also need to tell us, are you speaking in public panels? Are you part of your NOC? Are you participating in a committee? Are you a selection committee member? And encourage them to give back and put their skills out there, instead of saying, oh, another panel only males. Put your hand up and say, I'm happy to try, and my English is improving. Can you give me a chance? Just be visible and reward them for that visibility. So that is the project that focuses on the demand side, let's say. But I also think I want to point to a comment about building incentives so that people stay. And the incentives are not only money, incentives are related also to purpose. So if we try to imagine what is the internet that we really want to have. We want an internet that is open, that is secure, that is reliable, that respects human rights, that has a place for people, that is inclusive. Then you need to stay and build it. And it doesn't mean that you go to Singapore or someone else that are paying higher salaries. You can stay and do your part, and it will look for that reward. That is the kind of people that you need to stay, to stay. So we are trying to build those incentives, and the grants that we offer, in many cases, provide that space. So there is one example that I would like to share with the University of Auckland. We have supported for many years their work on TCP/IP tunneling to improve connectivity in the Pacific. And the project is a research project with measurements and deployments across 12 islands and all of that. But one of the biggest parts of the budget is that Professor Ulrich Speidel includes the cost of a student from the Pacific to be in his PhD course. So even though we don't have scholarships for PhDs, there is a wiggle room to be able to provide that scholarship to support and build the capacity for that person from Fiji, from Tonga, to be able to complete their PhD and then go back and work in the things that they are doing. And they are going back. So I think we need to figure out, keep asking the questions to the community about what they need, try to fill those gaps, and try to make the connections forward. All the limitations that capacity building programs have, for example, that we only do research, we only do this, we only do that. Then partner with someone that can do the CapEx, or partner with someone that can do the travel, or partner with someone that can do the other languages translation. Because if we don't feel the full cycle of what's needed, then we keep missing a piece and we don't move forward one step, right? Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. Excellent points. We need to build a network and we have to fulfill the cycle, right? Or else there's always a missing piece. All right. I also really like how you said you have to come up with your own plan when you want to build capacity with your own. Your brain is your own, right? Sometimes I don't even remember I have brains, but that's a good reminder. Your brain is your own. You have to come up with your own plan. Let's move back to Boyoung. We mentioned that you're also on the board of APTLD, and in APTLD, I heard that you also have several capacity building programs. What are they? Can you kind of share what you're doing within the APTLD to build capacity?
Thank you, and I'm happy to take this opportunity to share a bit about APTLD's capacity effort as a director of APTLD. Last September, to mark APTLD's 25th anniversary, the CCTLDs from the Asia-Pacific region gathered to envision the future of the Internet and issue a statement titled Internet for All. This statement emphasized the role and responsibilities of AP Star organizations in striving to build the capacity of all significant stakeholders. The statement including the following commitment: sharing knowledge about the Internet and the functioning of its core components across various forums and audience, proactively contributing to the collective development of cybersecurity and cyber hygiene awareness-raising effort, and developing and delivering dedicated Internet governance capacity building program targeting decision makers, public servants, and next generation leaders. The CCTLD registry in APTLD recognized the importance of sharing information about the Internet and its key component and cybersecurity, as well as conveying this information to policymakers, government officials, and the next generation of leaders. Following the declaration, APTLD has been discussing ongoing projects in their own countries and the activities that needs to be undertaken at the APTLD level. These discussions aim to ensure that we effectively contribute to the empowerment of our stakeholders, enhancing their capacities to navigate and shape the future of the Internet. I think that the government's role in Asia Pacific is quite higher than other regions. So I hope to have more opportunity to find out what we can do to develop our capacity, including government and then also various stakeholders. And KISA is keen to collaborate with the other community member, how to collaborate with government or even National Assembly. So I'm happy to be here today to hear other fellows, and yeah, that's it from me.
Thank you. Yes, I think we all recognize, as Ian has been throughout these 2 days, how important government needs to know better, right? As at least to reach the same level as ours, expertise or knowledge. I prepared one question for all of you, but I guess before that, I'd like to see if you guys have any questions to your fellow panelists. And if not, it's okay. If you're not curious, that's totally fine. But I'd like to also open the floor if anyone has any questions to any of our panelists. You're welcome to raise it now. Because, wow, okay, great. How do I do this? I guess we have 3 people, and we can go from there, and then here, and then there. Thank you. Oh, and then there. 4, okay.
Wow, quite an excellent service. As Kenny Huang, Chair of APNIC and Chair of TWNIC. My question is probably not a question, my comment, but split into 2 parts. The first part, we try to avoid to discuss capacity building, try to fulfill the job market requirement. Because actually, as Albert just mentioned, there's no job market for Internet governance. you couldn't incubate you couldn't train a student to get a job in the internet governance region. So we try to avoid that kind of concept. And doesn't mean the internet governance is not important, because I teach in many universities in terms of internet governance, and all my students, actually, they are full house. And the purpose they choose the class because they feel they can learn something from it. And from that point of view, we just try to assist an idea to the student, and maybe it will blossom in some day in the future in different job area. So I try to avoid we going to train students to find a good job either in the ICANN or in some registrar. That kind of concept doesn't exist. Or even KISA training a student, and basically they are looking for someone and find a job in a KISA. So the second is we also need to consider the importance of sustainability for capacity building. For example, all the institutions, either ICANN, APNIC, TWNIC, we spend tremendous effort for capacity building. But it turns out the cost of capacity building become very significant part of our budget. So we need to justify what kind of result we expect from that capacity building. And for example, like, is it any other model is going to be more sustainable for capacity building, either cost sharing or cost recovering? So we need to think more about that kind of issue. Otherwise, that kind of cost become a sunk cost. We allocate a cost to train the student, but we don't expect anything from them. If they eventually find a job in different area, they just walk away. So we need to think about how to make sure that can be sustainable for that kind of policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenny. Yes, very sharp insight. Definitely, I think, like I'd always said, the most brilliant people actually leave this area and then move on to somewhere else because we in ICANN are the leftovers. Well, I'm not referring only me. Others in ICANN are very good. But yeah, so I think it's definitely important to remember that. It's important to keep some, but it's also important that we spread some our nice people to other areas to enlighten them, right? So I'll go to the, is there any response from the panelists?
Yeah, I want to quickly respond to Kenny. So I totally agree with you, because that's my confusion in the beginning, because what training and development is purpose-driven. We know exactly why we're doing that. It doesn't work in the internet world at the moment. Capacity building is really just wise bet. Whatever. we do it first and just see what's the result. It needs to be somewhere in the middle. But what I'm thinking about is that there could definitely be a better match between the supply and demand side. To give you an example, well, I saw David right behind you, but if let's just have a scenario. If we have an excellent cybersecurity student and an excellent cybersecurity student who also understand internet, how internet works, if I'm an employer picking a position, I would probably pick the second one, because that's a better choice for me. So I think there's actually a lot of demand that we can uncover in the actual market that actually able to create a lot more demand, and we are able to match up the capacity building activity with a better prospect of continuing a career path in this kind of direction, and expanding that kind of internet governance concept and internet concept into the wider society. It might be a dream, but I think this is something that we need to try and work it out, because I can see the potential to actually do this as well.
I also wanted to pick up on one of the quick points there. For me, and what we see is there's a real lack of coordination across a breadth of capacity building programs as well. We take a real scattergun approach across the internet landscape, try some things here, try some things there. In some regions, we're seeing a huge amount of interest, and there's a lot of overlap. and there isn't enough coordination, and how do we better maximize our collective resources in this space? So I think when we think about capacity building, I think it's also quite important to be aware of what other programs are already existing and out there, and how do we better fill some of those strategic gaps. And hopefully through conversations like this and other conversations we have in the internet landscape, we can better build up that map of what's happening, who's doing what where, and how we better tailor a holistic program across the entire, I guess, iStar community to address all the various gaps for our region, at least to start, and then we can start looking at other regions and how that works out from there. But thank you.
Thank you. So we move on to our next participant. Where's the mic? And I see the question from the virtual participants. I'll go to that after we finish the ones on site because it's the last. But so I've already taken a picture of it. Can we switch back to the timing because I want to be aware of time. Thank you. Please.
Hi, my name is Sai Somvang Suwanavrong. I'm from the Laos National Internet Center, Ministry of Technology and Communication of Laos. I just want to thank the APAC Foundation and especially the Swiss program and Australian government and all the parties that have supported Laos, and especially in the capacity building, not only in the this industry, but also all the sectors. Back to the Switch program. I am actually the coordinator for this program in Laos, and there are like living proof that it affects and impact in the communities. There are most of the participants have confirmed that they, after joining the program, their lives improve, their work improve, and especially when they have the opportunity not only to do the technical training, but also, soft skill, leadership, public speaking, English, opportunity to network and shine on the stage, so that they being recognized by their managers or their boss and everyone, and they really appreciate the support from the Switch program. I just want to share my thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess I would usually let Sylvia respond, but due to time, we only have 6 minutes left. We'll move on, and hopefully we can take all questions before we end.
Good morning. My name is Carissa, and I'd like to thank our moderator and speakers for such an informative session. So I've heard skepticism against capacity building, stating that people would just forget the next day, or like there's no long-term benefit to it, which I personally think is really harsh. So I have 2 questions. First, what have you implemented to ensure a successful capacity building program in the past? And second, what does a successful capacity building actually look like when it comes to internet governance, specifically in APAC region? Are there like certain boxes to be ticked, or like how do you even measure the success and efficiency of the program? Thank you.
Thank you. Of course, Sylvia, but be aware of time. We finish in 1 minute.
I would just say that opportunity. If you take a course and you participate in a PIGA, for example, or then have the opportunity a clear opportunity where you go and you then support the MSG, the multi-stakeholder group that drives the APR IGF, but go and practice what you learn. That's the measure of success. If the courses stay only on, this is the slides, this is the 3 days that you're here, and there is no follow-up after, nor chasing, stalking people after, that's what's important, I believe, to build that network and the connections between individuals that are participating in those processes, so that they can be part of the GAC, they can be part of different groups at ICANN, but it's just keep on top of your participants and ask them, okay, you finished your thing with me, what are you doing now? You have to give back. And I think that's a call for action for all of us. We have a responsibility to keep the internet on and to keep the internet that we want, not the internet seems that we are going into like a train that is going to crash. Let's try to keep it to what we want, the things that are serving the community. But we can only do that if we do a lot of the rolling sleeves and volunteer work and support these initiatives. So.
And I don't think there are boxes to click, at least for me. But when you're sharing with your friends, you'll be like, oh, this person, do you remember? She's 1 year APIGA, whatever. She's now working somewhere, and you know, wow, that's a success. Well, if you look at me, I mean, it's probably weird to say this. I'm kind of a success example of capacity building because I'm an alumni of APIGA, right? But let's move on to Afik. You already got a mic?
Yeah, thank you. My name is Afik from GAC Malaysia. So I believe my questions is quite related to what Carissa has been asking. So I've actually participated in the last year's APIGA and attracted by its objectives, format, and also considering of bringing APIGA to Malaysia as part of the local APIGA's initiatives. However, these large-scale initiatives may require some investments and sometimes may need a really strong and justified reasons for me to get the buy-in from the higher-ups. So my question is, if you could share, how do you convince your higher-ups or the governments in organizing these large-scale capacity buildings? And if you could also share some stats or numbers on success stories of these initiatives, just to elevate the local and international internet ecosystems. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone to take this? 1 minute.
1 minute, okay. So, I mean, so Australia is, I can't comment on the efficacy of local APIGA. Australia is trying it for the first time this year. Our local CCT, or the operator, is hosting and funding it, and the Australian government's a proud partner of this initiative. So perhaps we can connect after we've run our version. I can tell you how it's gone. But for us, really, it's a simple discussion. I think this discussion today has touched on a lot of those issues. It's building out that pipeline of talent. The pool of people who understand the internet government landscape is incredibly small, and I continually complain to my superiors about not having access to young, bright, keen talent who we can bring in, incorporate, and grow that next generation. So if they want me to stop complaining every time I have a meeting with them about the lack of talent, then they can support some of these initiatives. And so it's part of a holistic conversation around talent, HR, succession planning. It's trying to take a longer term vision to some of these issues, and that resonates well with a lot of our government slow moving processes and longer term thinking.
Thank you, Ian. So just briefly, for me, myself, I'm, in my case, I make myself the successful case, and I go to them, I'm like, look at me, that's how you should do it. And they kind of like grudgingly admit that it works. So yeah, we have only 30 seconds left. I'm very sorry, Ethan, we saw your questions. I thought all of the examples are good first step to continue in, participating in internet governance. But of course, we can continue these discussions because we all have each other's contact methods. So I know we are probably gonna go over time for 1 minute because I really want our panelists to have at least 1 sentence or 2 sentences to close the sessions. Share what you think, whatever you want to say. So I'll start with Boyoung, and then we go all the way to Alban.
Thank you for giving me a chance to share our story, successful story, and hope to continue in our community in the effort for this event.
Just check our website for opportunities for funding and capacity building.
I want to take this opportunity to talk about the protective factor of capacity building. I think the social aspect is incredibly vital, and the more you can bring newcomers into our social circle, the bigger that circle is, and the more they want to stay here. The internet community is full of fantastic people, and that's the biggest draw card, I think, for getting more people involved. The community is awesome, and anything to do to grow that is fantastic.
I think my conclusion would be that I think sometimes we have to realize that goodwill will only go so far, especially when you talk about sustainability of a particular program. There needs to be some commercial drive from the community, even for government. You know, I don't know how government actually works, but I would imagine that the official would be more motivated if they see there's a demand coming from the community saying that we want more talent on this regard. We see this as a problem. So how do we actually marry these two? The supply side capacity building and the demand side capacity building is what I'm hoping to see. And my last sentence would really be just that the APIGA and some of the program is really fantastic. I'm just hoping that we can participate more and make it even better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Switch is also fantastic. Thank you all. It was much more interactive sessions than I planned and imagined. And thank you all for actively participating in this session. I think we'll close here, and thank you very much.
Before we conclude the session, we would like to request moderator and speakers, please remain on stage to take a group photo. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to take a short tea break. Please be back in 15 minutes. Enjoy your tea break. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to take a short tea break. Please be back in 15 minutes. Enjoy your tea break. Thank you.